wanted Final Cut Pro on my iPad to be kind of a quote-unquote laptop replacement moment. Instead, my iPad Air M2 turned into a crash-happy, stuttering mess the moment I started editing with Final Cut. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Bite into Apple. Apple finally made it easier for a lot of us to try Final Cut on iPad thanks to the Apple Creator Studio, which launched recently, and I jumped on it immediately. I know that Final Cut has been available on iPad for quite some time, but I have been a heavy LumaFusion user for a number of years. I couldn't justify the $10-ish every month to just put Final Cut Pro on there when I have LumaFusion. But now with Apple Creator Studio, I'm paying $12.99 and getting a bunch of pro level applications. So I thought, hey, now is the time to give Final Cut an actual chance on the iPad. Now here's the thing, Apple's own requirements for Final Cut Pro on the iPad is simply M-series chip or higher, and even a couple A-series chips are capable of running it. And yes, my M2 iPad Air is on that list. This is literally one of the iPads Apple is telling its users to, yes, go and edit on. But in real use, I'm dealing with some pretty horrible things if you ask me. Freezing when scrubbing, crashing when making cuts, moments when I'm fighting the app instead of the app helping me create my video. And when you're editing, those issues aren't minor. They're actually deal breakers. Look, when you're editing, it's all about momentum. It's all about getting to your next moment, getting done. Look, a lot of editors will sit there and edit for hours at a time. So when you do it, you want it to be smooth. You want it to run like you want it to run. But I'm finding with Final Cut on the iPad, it's not working as it should. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that every iPad Air M2 is having this problem. I can only speak for what issues I'm seeing. But I will say this, I'm not the only one who's seeing the instability with Final Cut on the M2 class series chips on the iPad. Apple's own support forum has users describing Final Cut for iPad becoming unusable after updates on the M2 iPads. So if you're watching this and thinking, dude, same, you're not crazy. Here's what really gets me. Final Cut is sold as a legit pro workflow, and Apple even has official troubleshooting steps for when it's not working. But the whole point of going to these M series of chips was to minimize the issues, to have a smooth and premium experience. Instead, right now, Final Cut Pro for the iPad, at least in my experience, is still in that awkward phase where the idea is ahead of the execution. Now, if you're running into the same issues or similar issues that I'm running into, this is actually what Apple says to do. Reset your iPad, disconnect accessories and external drives just to test. Confirm you're meeting requirements, plus update the iPad OS and Final Cut. Test the demo project inside Final Cut, and delete and reinstall Final Cut. And those are all straight from Apple's website. And if it's crashing after that, look, it's not user error. It's an issue with its reliability. So here's where I'm at. I wanted to switch from LumaFusion to Final Cut Pro. I was ready, but the crashing, the freezing, the lag on my iPad M2 has just made it impossible for me to justifiably move from LumaFusion. So for me, I will be sticking with what's stable on the iPad. Now, if you've tried Final Cut on the iPad, I want to hear from you. I want to hear if you've had any issues, if you've been noticing anything that's been going on that's weird or wonky. And if you want more real-world Apple Creator stuff, what works, what doesn't work, subscribe to Bite into Apple now. I'll see you all later.